While I find this story interesting, it also makes me feel a little uncomfy. Beijing, China will be hosting a half marathon in April that will feature some unconventional runners. Along with us mere mortals, well, the type of mortals who enjoy running long distances for reasons I don't understand. The true stars of the race will be humanoid robots from more than 20 different robotics companies. Can you understand why this freaks me out a little bit? It just has the potential to go all iRobot. Robots participating in the race must have human-like features, and they can only move by means of bipedal walking or running. No wheels or tracks will be allowed. The humanoids can be fully autonomous or remotely controlled. And just like us humans, once again, I realize I'm not in this group of humans. The thought of running 13 miles makes me shudder. However, just like us humans who run races, the robots will be able to take a break to recharge their batteries, or actually get them swapped out, whatever. By the way, welcome to the Goodish news channel. I'm Ashley, your professional pessimist. In an effort to be more optimistic, I'm bringing you news that's very unserious. I'm no Walter Cronkite or Barbara Walters, RIP. But hopefully when this video is over, you won't feel any worse than when it started. In just a moment, we'll talk more about the Humanoid half marathon, but I'll also be discussing a rare musical instrument that just hit the auction block, and an unexpected birth at an aquarium in Louisiana that has scientists scratching their heads. The concept of the humanoid dates back a lot further than one might think. I was surprised to learn that there are mentions of humanoids in Greek mythology and Chinese philosophy dating back to the 3rd century BC. Leonardo da Vinci conceptualized a mechanical robotic suit of armor in the 1400s. It had the capability to sit, stand, and move its arms. This was all done through a system of cables and pulleys. There was no real application for the system other than to entertain royalty, but modern recreations of da Vinci's concept proved it to be fully functional. The first full-scale humanoid robot was developed in Japan in 1973 by scientists at Waseda University. It could walk on 2 legs, grab objects, and could see and talk. Now, when I say it could walk, it took the robot 45 seconds to take a single step. But hey, that's more steps than I've taken in the last 45 seconds. In the year 2000, Honda developed the robot Osimo. It could interact with humans due to its ability to recognize hand gestures, sounds, and faces. Honda worked on the robot for many years. In 2006, they upgraded Osimo with the ability to climb stairs. Well, sort of. I'm not going to laugh. Don't worry, Osimo got the hang of it later. Honda continued to develop the robot up until 2018 and officially retired the model in 2022. Since then, humanoid technology has continued to evolve. However, one hurdle developers have always faced is getting the robots to walk naturally. It doesn't sound all that difficult, but walking requires a combination of balance, movement, and adaptation. It's that last one that gets tricky for our robotic counterparts. Our bodies and brains are constantly adapting and adjusting as we walk. We can go from a sidewalk to grass to walking up a flight of stairs without a second thought. While we go about our day without wondering how we'll adapt going from a tile floor to carpet, humanoids have to constantly use predictive technology to calculate their next move. That's really just scratching the surface. And really, it's just one little scratch. So many other things complicate the whole thing, and to be brutally honest, I'm just not smart enough to comprehend it all, let alone explain it. All that being said, we might be the ones serving our robot overlords in the future, but at least we don't look like this when we walk. The Humanoid Half Marathon is being organized by the Beijing Economic Technological Developmental Area. That's a mouthful. Also known as E-Town. This is an industrial park in Beijing that's a major hub for high-tech industries. In fact, there are more than 140 robotics companies within the park, but it's anticipated that companies from all over the world will participate in the race. If nothing else, I'm sure this race will provide us with some entertaining content before the inevitable autonomous takeover. Imagine you have $11 million just burning a hole in your pocket. What are you going to spend it on? A mansion, fancy cars, a yacht? Well, for one rich person out there, they chose to spend it on a violin. The Joachim Mosch Stradivarius violin, made in 1714 by Antonio Stradivari himself, just sold for $11.3 million. It did fall short of the expected sell price of $12 to $18 million. Suddenly, concert tickets for Taylor Swift sound affordable. It's all about perspective, you know? If you don't know who Stradivari was, he was basically the GOAT of violin making. Think Leonardo da Vinci, but for violins. By the way, that's the second time that da Vinci's gotten a shout out in this video. The Joachim Ma violin is called such because of its two famous former owners. Joseph Joachim, a Hungarian musician, purchased the instrument around 1849 and played it for 30 years. This violin sounded so good that Johannes Brahms supposedly got inspired by it to write his legendary Violin Concerto in D major after hearing the instrument. Sihon Ma, a Chinese musician, purchased the violin in 1967, and his estate donated it to the New England Conservatory after his death. The Joachim Ma violin was made during Stradivari's golden period. At this point in time, he had perfected the shape, proportions, and arching of his design, which enhanced the sound and tone of the instruments he built. So what makes a Stradivarius violin so special anyway? Well, no one really knows. The shape and proportion have been copied to death by other violin makers, but many argue these instruments still don't produce the tone of the OG Strad. One long-standing theory is it's the varnish that Stradivari used on his instruments. People have been trying to crack the recipe for centuries, but it remains a mystery. Some studies confirm the varnish theory and others debunk it, so who really knows? It's a debate that will continue on in perpetuity, I'm sure. The last variable is the wood. During the 16th and 17th centuries, Europe went through a mini ice age. This caused the growth rings on trees to be closer together, creating abnormally dense wood. So is this dense wood the secret to the Strad's success? We just don't know. Once again, some studies suggest it is and others don't. But as the late great Steve Jobs would say,
but there is one more thing.
Maybe the lore behind the Stradivarius violin is what makes it sound so good. Our brains do funny things. If someone tells us something like an old violin is rare and highly sought after for its superior quality, projection, and tone, there's a really good chance we're going to buy into that. And when we hear that violin being played, we're going to think how much better it sounds than any modern version. A double-blind test was performed that pitted old violins, including several made by Stradivari, against their newer competitors. 21 experienced musicians played the instruments blindfolded, not knowing what was a new instrument or old. And I bet you can guess what happened. The violin that musicians liked the best was a new one, and the one that ranked the worst, a Stradivarius. Now, I'm not saying the Strad is a bunch of hyped up overpriced garbage. I'm just saying that if I had $11 million, it wouldn't go toward a violin, but to each their own. The lore of the Stradivarius will live on. This study was performed in 2012, and 13 years later, the Strad's reputation hasn't been tarnished. It's still the most sought after instrument for professional violinists and collectors. There are around 650 Stradivarius violins still in existence today. They don't go up for auction very often, so when one pops up, there's a lot of buzz about it. The New England Conservatory is going to put all proceeds towards student scholarships. So while people who have too much money are blowing it on a possibly overhyped instrument, at least it's going toward a good cause. This next story is about a baby shark, but don't worry, I won't make you listen to the song. I'd really just be punishing myself. A baby shark named Yoko was born at the Shreveport Aquarium in Louisiana. That probably doesn't sound like anything special. However, the tank where the egg hatched housed only 2 female sharks. So we return to the age-old question, who's the daddy?
You are the father!
The 2 female sharks had had no interaction with male sharks in many years, so staff at the aquarium have 2 hypotheses they are considering. One is that this could be a case of parthenogenesis. This is a form of asexual reproduction where an embryo develops directly from an unfertilized egg. Some animals reproduce exclusively through parthenogenesis. One of these animals is the New Mexico whiptail lizard. This species is entirely female. That's right, it's a woman's world, baby. The offspring are genetic clones of their mothers. While parthenogenesis is the common mode of reproduction for some animals, it's very rare in sharks. When it does happen in these cases, some scientists think it's a last-ditch effort for the female to pass on her genetics. The other theory for Yoko's unexpected birth is that this could be a case of delayed fertilization. This occurs when a shark stores sperm in the oviducal glands. This prevents it from reaching the egg until long after the sharks have had contact. Scientists don't know how long female sharks can store sperm. The longest length of time scientists have observed is almost 4 years. The 2 female sharks at the aquarium, however, haven't been around male sharks for at least 11 years. So if it is a case of delayed fertilization, these ladies are breaking records. Yoko is currently being cared for behind the scenes and away from the public view. Shark pups born from these reproductive methods can often have health issues. So aquarium staff want to make sure Yoko receives the best care possible. Plus, when you're that famous, you know how the paparazzi just come out of the woodwork. If you're looking for more good news in your life, be sure to check out my video from last week where I discuss what NASA found on an asteroid, a painting discovered at a garage sale that could very well be a Van Gogh, and an unconventional police dog in China that's winning over social media. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and we can ignore all the bad news together.